The reopening of the schools in China is more than just a date. We look at the complexities of reopening schools both in China and abroad. And my personal visit to a middle school today in Beijing. Welcome back. I'm Tian Wei, and you are watching World Inside Live from Beijing. How has the coronavirus pandemic affected education? This question has garnered global scrutiny. UNESCO has monitored school closures around the world caused by COVID-19. If you take a look at this map right behind me, the ones in purple, huge areas, are the ones, countries and regions going through nationwide school closures. The ones in pink contain localized schools closures. And only a few patches of blue, you can see over there, very small of them, and very few are visible. They are representing schools that are still open today. So according to the latest data, globally we're talking about, there are over 1.2 billion affected students. That's about 73.8% of total enrolled students. As life slowly returns to normal, schools are gradually reopening across China. In Beijing, high school senior resumed classes today, and I got the chance to visit a school this morning. So take a look at what's going on through the minds of the third year of senior high school students here in Beijing. Right behind me is a school that's offering education to students from the 7th to the 12th grade. In the ordinary days, it has more than 2,000 students. But of course, as a result of COVID-19 and social distancing, no student came to the school over the past 100 days. However, today, a small group of them are here. They are the third year of the senior high school students. They're facing a daunting task, going to the college entrance exam 2.5 months from now. Their first day in school. Which grade are you in now?
Third grade of senior high.
Are you excited back at school?
Yes.
How long was your vacation?
Over 2 months, but we actually were having online classes since February.
Did you like that arrangement?
It was okay, but I prefer having class at school.
So you are proudly wearing your school uniform today.
I'm even worried that my school uniform doesn't fit anymore.
So you are preparing for your college entrance exam?
I'm confident. Actually, it was also good having online classes at home. We can listen to material as needed.
How do you protect yourself at school?
We are asked to wear masks at school and keep distance from each other. Each class has 2 rooms, one for teaching and the other for having lunch.
You haven't met your classmates for quite some time, have you?
No, I haven't, and we had our classes reshuffled. We used to have 12 classes, now we have 16, with no more than 25 students each, so as to keep a safe distance.
So you have a lot of new classmates?
Yes, but that doesn't matter. We're all focused on our studies.
Why are you carrying so much luggage?
Because I'm a boarding student.
Clothes, books, and a laptop?
And the laptop is used for online classes. We now study in the classrooms during the day and have online classes in the evening.
Are you studying arts or science?
I'm a science student.
Which subject do you like most?
Biology.
Your biology teacher must be very happy to hear this. So how many roommates do you have now?
We used to have 6 people living in one room. Now it has changed to 2 to 4 people per room. And we're also asked to wear masks in the dormitory.
Was it your dad who just drove you here? 爸爸说怎么叮嘱你的？
Yes, and he keeps telling me to remember to put on masks.
好，希望你一切顺利哈。Okay, wish you all the best. Stay healthy and best of luck on your studies. Thank you. 慢点啊。It's 9:30 in the morning. The classes in the school already begun. This is where the students line up before they come into the school. You can see on the floor the red line. Between every one of them, 1 meter in order to keep social distance. After coming into the line, they can go one by one into the school by following this route. And you can see marked here, said very clearly in Chinese, please keep 1 meter social distance. Now, follow me. Once they come into the school door, they will be checked with their temperature. You can see the small blue cabin is temporary, obviously just set up over the past few days. And once their temperature is being considered normal, they will be able to go into their classes. And meanwhile, they're also having new routines for classes breaks and also for having lunch. There will be many different new rules that the students and the staff need to follow. I was told earlier that this school, obviously a model school here in Chaoyang district of Beijing, have been doing several drills in order to make sure everything runs smoothly. After that early morning visit to a local middle school in Beijing, let's get our guests to talk about their feelings and thoughts about the school opening here in the capital city. We are first joined in Beijing via Skype by Xue Lan, Dean of the Schwarzman College of Tsinghua University. Professor Xue, what a pleasure seeing you. We are still doing Skype because we try to keep the social distance. No guests in the studio yet.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Good to see you, sir. So tell me more about,
Wonderful to see you.
Yeah, as an educator, I mean, you've been working on enrollment and also on the designing of the curriculum and the public policy related to education for decades. Tell me more about this unprecedented experience we are facing right now.
Well, I think for all the educators, I think this is really a very critical time. I think, first of all, I think that, adds a lot of pressure to the educator, how to really maintain sort of teaching and to make sure that indeed the normal teaching can go on. I think through online process, but at the same time also I think we're also wondering to explore how actually to bring the learning environment back to the students.
Right.
I think it's not just learning things on the books, but also how to actually students how they can interact to each other and learning from each other. So that's actually the challenge now we are facing at this stage.
Professor Xue, earlier we are seeing footages coming out of a local Beijing school. The first day opening, the third-year student of the senior high, they're facing college entrance examination, but the first priority, of course, is still health. So how to make sure that the students are not likely to be distracted while they are facing the most critical exam possibly in their whole life?
Yeah. Well, I think that, you really need to balance the two things. How, of course, the first priority is still keep all the students safe. I think at the same time, how not to add too much pressure to distract them too much from their attention from their study. After all, they come to school to study, not to practice how to, to be safe. So I think the key here is, how, the overall sort of risk assessment and the risk communication. Risk assessment meaning, how actually we can, try to understand better what are the measures that actually can indeed be very effective in helping students to reduce their risk of being infected. also, I think we also need to let the student know why they're taking these measures. Because I think in general, we just tell them, you need to wear the masks or you need to keep the distance. But we need to tell them why, these are useful.
Right.
So I think when they understand why these are useful, I think then they will, probably, have much less pressure. And also, I think they would also, in their normal practice, try to be careful. So I think that's sort of the things that we need to be mindful.
Right. You can see earlier in our footage, everybody is fully equipped with all the masks and the hats and the glasses and everything. Obviously, the school and the parents are trying their best to do that. But still, telling them why is even more important than and how, right? So tell me, Professor, also another thing, you mentioned about online study. Now, that is a temporary solution, an emergency solution. Certainly people see efficiency of that, but certainly that is not enough. So how from now on, our educational style likely to be changed? A combination of in-class, face-to-face, combined with, online education. That is really a fascinating topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just had a discussion. I think, of course, online discussion of all the international educators, I think, around the globe, talking about, what is the impact of this, so in a way, I think the online education now, I think, throughout the world, I think, particularly, I think that after the coronaviruses, I think, first of all, I think, of course, that we're forced to do this. So in a way, this is a social experiment, not by choice, but actually rather we're forced to conduct this, experiment. I think Tsinghua University is probably the first university in the world that started the whole academic semester online. Over, I think, close to 4,000 courses started at the same time online. So that is an unprecedented, social experiment. I think now, after almost like a semester, passing by, I think that we learned a great deal. That first of all, I think that many professors, from very clumsily, started to use, Zoom, Tencent, and this, I think there are, problems here and there. But now they're getting used to it.
Right.
So many of them becomes Wanghong, right? I mean, they are now really, learning how to do this. And also they find that actually it's not as bad as they thought. Actually, in many cases, they were able to really get more participation than before. For example, some students may be shy in their normal classroom settings, but now they are more confident, through online process to participate in discussion. So I think there are some, unforeseeable sort of kind of advantage in some of this process.
Okay.
So I think that I'm sure that the education will never be the same once the pandemic is over.
Will they ever?
I think,
Will they ever be the same? And let's also invite in from our Tian Wei studio, Einar Tangen, current affairs commentator. Einar, you'll be listening to Professor Xue while he's trying to analyze the dramatic change going on in the educational system. Tell me more about your thoughts.
Well, I agree. I mean, it is changing, but it's never going to be. It's a balancing act because, on one hand, you have the best education can be offered online by the best teachers. You can have tremendous variety, and you can reduce the cost. Obviously, you don't need all that infrastructure. But on the other hand, students do not just go to school to absorb knowledge from their professors. They also have to interact socially, learn how to get along with each other, how to work as a team. And this part, you can clearly see from the kids that you saw at Wuhan, I mean at the school today and everywhere else, that they really desire this kind of social interaction as well as the kind of person-to-person contact that they have with their teachers.
And the parents are so happy. Finally, they're at school. The parents do not have to stay at home and face the kids every day. It's really quite a torture, quote unquote. Having said that, though, there's another thing, that is how to do international education. Professor Xue and also Mr. Tangen, both of you are doing cultural exchanges and communications. Professor Xue, particularly you, responsible for Schwarzman College, which is supposed to bring in talents from all over the world. You're trying to enroll for the next year. A lot of difficulties, I would assume, at this time about bringing the students in and also make sure they understand how it works. Professor Xue, you go first, and then Mr. Tangen.
Okay. Indeed, I think, of course, I think we're very lucky in a way. I think, you know, the virus started in the early spring. That's, you know, when we've already had one semester together. So I think that helped a great deal. So I fully agree with our previous speaker that, indeed, you wanted to be, you know, to be socializing and to really get together to learn from each other, from, you know, a lot of other, you know, communications, face to face, and, you know, in the same classroom, and, you know, going out together. So I think that's the, you know, in a way, a lot of the fundamental educational model of the Schwarzman College is based on.
Right.
So I think we are fortunate to have that experience first, and then we're forced to be online. I think, of course, that for our next, you know, I think, you know, the new year, academic year, you know, I think that's a new challenge.
Exactly.
Indeed, I think, you know,
exactly.
Yeah, if you have to start things online, I think that's a different thing, because I think students are not knowing each other well, and how actually we can really get people to socialize starting from online. That's something that we've never had, you know, that experience before, and then we have to, to learn.
We are forced to do this social experiments in a way. Mr. Tangen, enormous amount of foreign students inside the United States, where you originally from, among them many Chinese students as well. They have to choose whether they want to go back home, which tickets very hard to come by the way, and the borders are all to a certain extent closing. But on the other hand, if they want to stay, what's likely to happen next year? So very complicated, not just about how to teach in the school, but also about other issues related to education.
Well, yes, I mean, and there's also an uptick in the amount of racist attacks. I mean, it's 100 a day now. It used to be a couple every month in the past, but because of the political situation with the current administration, it's getting much harder, and I think there is a backlash. I think a lot of parents are considering very carefully, one from the health aspect, because they see China now as much safer than other places, and also, you know, they don't want anything happening to their children. They certainly don't want them to be experiencing this kind of negative behavior. But in terms of getting education, yeah, you can get it from abroad. You could stay in China and get it from Harvard, from MIT, from Columbia, just through their online program. So, you know, there is real possibilities that these things will change as people learn to accept them. But I agree with my colleague. In full disclosure, I'm also a selector of students at the Schwarzman program. I've done it for 3 years. And it's interesting to see how important it is for these students to work together. I mean, you interview them individually and also as a group. And you're looking for that group dynamic, because that really shows the potential for leadership.
I mean, it's really about it, isn't it? A lot of the schools and the programs, such as the B schools, are mainly about how people will work together, working group, and show the leadership, how to be a leader. There are many complicated issues related to education. I hope in the future we'll be able to tackle them one by one in our programs systematically. But for now, I want to thank both of you who are making your utmost efforts in order to provide the students as much as possible during this difficult time. Xue Lan, the Dean of the Schwarzman College from Tsinghua University, and also Iner Tangen, current affairs commentator. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Be well. And that is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us World Inside CGTN, or check out our YouTube channel and also Facebook account. You can also go on our Twitter account as well. I'm Tian Wei on behalf of the team. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.